Today we are talking about used or pre-loved running shoes. Should you buy them? Should you not? What are the pitfalls? What are the benefits? Let's get on with it. So yeah, today's all about used or pre-loved running shoes as opposed to buying obviously new running shoes. Most people will just buy new running shoes, myself included. I have only ever bought brand new running shoes for obvious reasons, but today we're going to go through all the pros and cons of each kind of avenue, buying new, buying pre-loved. Up until recently, I said I'd only ever bought brand new running shoes. Obviously, I bought expensive ones, I bought cheap ones, but they've always been brand new from obviously High Street or Start Fitness, sports shoes, all the obvious big retailers. However, recently I have my wife's fault, but she's introduced me to the world of Vinted, and I suppose eBay's been going around for a long time as well. These kind of auction sites or basically marketplaces where you can buy and sell obviously used items, including running shoes. So today I just thought I'd have a quick discussion. Obviously it is quite a what's the word, polarising topic. Feel free to put any of your opinions and comments into the comments. It may well start a discussion, which is all good. I said if people have strong opinions either way. Hopefully I'll cover most of the opinions people have in the video today. But yeah, put in the comments if I've missed anything out, or if you've got a fairly strong opinion either way. Drop it in the comments below so people can see it and respond. So why am I talking about this today? Like I said, I've just literally started to dabble into it and do a bit of buying and selling. And obviously I wanted to get open it up for discussions all in the comments if you want to give their opinions. However, very recently, like I said, I had a few pairs of shoes I didn't really utilise anymore, wanted to get rid of. I stuck them on Vinted, but again, eBay is available, StockX, there's other places available, but Vinted is what I've been using over the last few weeks. And yeah, stuck on my trail shoes, which were probably a little bit too small. They were actually a size 10, and they were given to me by a friend, but I persisted with them for a period of time, but generally my sizing is generally 10.5 or 11 for my running shoes. So I took the opportunity to try and get rid of them and maybe try and reinvest anything I got from them into a better trail shoe. I also had another really old pair of trail shoes which I'd retired for just for like kind of trail walks, which is my old Nitral V4s, my New Balance trail shoes. I also sold them, and also the Brooks Ghost. I decided I didn't want to run in them anymore, and I thought I could sell them for a couple of quid. So again, give them to someone else as maybe a good walking shoe. They still had loads of life left in them. Still in good condition, and again really good for long walks, or if you've got Achilles issues as an older person maybe. So I decided to sell those 3 shoes, made a bit of money off them, and then decided to have a look around Vinted, look at the standard of running shoes on there. Obviously they've got different criteria, new without the tags, very good condition, satisfactory, and obviously again we'll go through the pitfalls and the things to look out for in a minute. But yeah, so I sold my Pegasus Trail 3s and swapped them out for some Nike Terra Kyga version 6s, so a lighter, slightly more racy version of a trail shoe, and again in really good condition. I sold the Brooks Ghost 14, which again I really hated as an Easy Day shoe, and I was going to get another Easy Day shoe, but I found these shoes and decided to make these my new dailies for this year. It's the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2s, so again pretty good condition. I've already been out for these on a 10k tempo, so I swapped them 2 out, and my best find so far. Sold my New Balance Nitral V4, like a really old trail shoe, which again I had for a couple of years. I was just using for walking. Stuck them on there again for someone else to utilise because they're literally in the boot of the car. And I was on the lookout for potentially a longer run marathon, half marathon, race day shoe, because you've got a marathon coming up. But again, some of my shoes are more racy versions, and obviously I'm going to be running this at a nice easy pace, so I wanted to look out for a good quality marathon shoe if I could, and I found the New Balance RC Elite version 2. So again, swap these out. Now again, drop in the comments or shout out loud now. I said Pegasus Trail 3, Ghost 14 and New Balance Nitral V4, and then I've picked up Terra Kyga 6, Endorphin Speed 2 and RC Elite version 2. Again, shout out loud in front of you, obviously I'm not going to hear you, but shout out loud what you think the difference was in terms of how much outlay I have actually spent between the 6 shoes. So obviously sold 3, bought 3, and I'll tell you the actual answer in a second. So yeah, at the end of the video I will tell you how much I've actually spent exchanging those kind of 3 shoes for 3 others. And I'll quickly just go through now kind of the risks, the rewards. Like I said, I kind of fell into this. I wasn't planning on doing any of this. My wife kind of highlighted Vinted to me, potentially as an option if you wanted to pick up on it, because I was literally just on lookout for another easy day shoe. So it was kind of or can I just pick up a cheap one from on there maybe. But then I saw the opportunity to kind of sell some of my shoes, which again would give me some kind of money to utilise to kind of exchange them. And again, those 3 shoes I didn't enjoy. Brooks Goes 14 I was literally going to throw away. Trail 3 from Pegasus I was utilising. I used it for the whole Cleridian range. I've used it for most of my trail runs recently. But again, on a downhill section, especially on a longer run, my toes did start to bang against the toe bumper. They weren't great, so I just took the opportunity to try and swap them out. And again, the Neutral V4 was literally a shoe I never even looked at for the last few months. So I just thought I might as well get rid of that, let someone else utilise it and make the benefit of it. So yeah, again, drop in the comments your top tips or whether you should avoid it altogether. But yeah, in terms of the risks, things to look out for, I always look out for, like I said, inflated quality. Again, they have to put on at least a few photos. So if you're looking at it, it says it's very good quality, but then looking at the photos, there's rips and tears on the upper, the outsole's battered and has got peeling off. The heel pocket, I always look out for that. That's another thing I look out for. The heel pocket's all kind of worn here and is all frayed. Again, it's likely to have been heavily used. Again, strategic photos. Again, some people put a photo on which will maybe hide parts of the shoe, so maybe part of the outsole will be hidden, or it'll be a really close-up of the shoe, which again doesn't show the whole shoe, therefore is a rip being hidden. Or another red flag is pricing. So again, if it's a really old shoe and it's been used for a period of its life, and yet they're sticking it on for nearly full price, or like I say overinflated pricing, and you just want to make loads of money off it, then obviously again that's a red flag for me in terms of they're not being genuine. They're just trying to get as much money or try and con someone as much as they possibly can. And the last thing is obviously really brief descriptions. If they can't even be bothered to type a bit of a description in terms of how they've used it, how much they've used the shoe, how many miles are in it, the overall condition, why they're even selling it. They can't bother to type anything. It just says running shoe size 11 done. Then again, that's just a bit of a red flag that they've got no care or interest in helping you as the buyer to make an informed decision. So I tend to avoid those. So that's what I looked at for when I was buying. Again, I did my due diligence, didn't just click on a shoe and think, oh, I'll have that and rush into it. Again, I'm quite a conscientious buyer, especially with running shoes. And again, pitfalls, well, the first thing is you don't know how much it's been used. Yes, the seller could state they've done 100 miles in it, 200 miles in it. There's no way of actually ever knowing until you get it on your feet, and obviously that's the risk. Once you've bought it, there is a return kind of refund policy, but not unless you've been deceived in terms of pictures or descriptions are inaccurate. If they don't fit, or they're not quite as good quality as you thought they were going to be, there's not much you can do. So that's the pitfall. Obviously, like I said, these running shoes now, I asked the sellers before I bought them how many miles they've done. Again, you kind of putting the trust in them, and I appreciate that I've no actual idea how many miles they've done. However, being devil's advocate on the flip side to that, all my shoes I run it on feel anyway. Doesn't matter. I do log my miles in my shoes, but when they start to deteriorate, I start to pick up issues or injuries, I start to feel dead or flat, I'll retire them anyway. In terms of the prices I've paid for these shoes, there's not that much of a risk. If I only get 100 miles, 200 miles out of them, I've not actually lost anything at all. So that's kind of where I am right now. Again, previously up until a few weeks ago, I would have said I don't touch used running shoes. It's a bit too much of a risk. There's no real reward to it. You end up running yourself, put a shoe on your feet, which is basically ready for retirement, and you're going to end up picking up injuries. Again, you've got no control over how it's been used, the quality of the shoe, how many miles it's done already. However, on the back of the success of what I've found at the minute with Vinted, I wouldn't knock it too much. That's why I wanted to open it up today. Again, a lot of people will have a strong opinion of like, oh no, I'll never buy a used running shoe. Don't touch them. Get new every time. They'll last longer, etc. However, there is people out there that maybe can't afford new running shoes, maybe can't afford the really good quality shoes. For example, the RC Elite is a 220 pound running shoe. Not in a million years would I have ever bought one of these new. Yeah, drop in the comments your opinions. Again, would you never touch used running shoes again? It's not for everyone, but I always kind of compare it to cars. Like, yes, people can buy a brand new car, you'll pay top price, and yes, used car sales can be a bit of a minefield, just like used kind of running shoes or anything used can be a bit of a minefield. However, for every shocker, every banger of a car, you might find a little hidden gem that someone's missed, etc. So it's why, is it worth looking for? If you swallow your pride and your ego, Is there some kind of gems to find? And I think there is. So yeah, going back to that original question, like I said, so I sold the 3 shoes I sold, picked up these 3 shoes. How much do you think I've spent altogether? Swapping them 3 for these 3, selling mine and picking up these 3. Hopefully you've all shouted out your opinion at the screen, I won't hear it. The actual answer is I am 8p in profit. So selling my shoes, buying these shoes, obviously I have to pay for postage and the kind of buyer's protection fee for every purchase, so a couple of quid here and there on top of that, and I'm still 8p up. So if you tell me that I basically get broke even, I sold the 3 shoes I didn't want, got 3 shoes I do want, and I've actually not spent a single penny. That's why I think it's worth at least investigating. I know other people, I think Mike, you mentioned it on my Strava not long ago, that you've sometimes dabbled on Vinted and picked up a nearly new pair of running shoes. So yeah, have you tried it? Have you purchased used running shoes before? Would you consider it? Are you completely against it and will never do it? And I appreciate everyone's got their own opinion. You have strong feelings either way. Like I said, a month ago I was of that kind of camp, but I don't know, don't touch used running shoes. There's plenty of cheap new running shoes, as also I evidence when I go and buy £20 and £30 new running shoes. However, I'd argue that I actually paid £20 for the Endorphin Speed 2, and is that better for 20 quid than the £26 Durham OSC? I've picked up 100%. I've run in both shoes now. It's worth it in my eyes in terms of at least looking at it, but you have to be aware of the pitfalls. It basically becomes an exchange site. I've sold my running walking shoes and I picked up some other alternative running walking shoes. So yeah, drop in the comments your opinions. Used running shoes, pre-loved running shoes, whatever you want to call them. Is it worth buying them? Should you avoid them at all costs? What other alternative you got to pick up cheaper running shoes if budget is the issue? Again, some people will say buy the older models of newer shoes, so get the previous version or 2, which is all well and good, but they will only come down so much. People will probably still selling them on Vinted for, I think I've seen them 100 odd quid anyway. So yes, you can still get yourself a bargain of the really, really quality ones. And again, these eBays and Vinted and these other sites do actually sell new shoes as well, new with tags on. And again, there'll be a reduced price. I barely mentioned that. You don't have to buy the used ones. You can buy the new ones that are just haven't sold or have now been discontinued and just trying to get rid of the stock. So there is bargains to find if you are interested and you're willing to have a look around. Like I said, it's a minefield in terms of there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shoes. There is filters on there to help you if you narrow it down and get down to the models you want, if you've got an idea of what kind of model shoe you want. But yeah, wrap it up there. Used running shoes, pre-loved running shoes, bit of a minefield, bit of a polarising topic. I've only just started to dabble into it, but I will report back if any of these shoes turn out to be a bit of a dud in terms of if I only get maybe 2 or 3 runs out of them. I will report back. But yeah, I'll wrap it there. As always, thank you for watching. Happy running, and I'll see you on the next one.